There's only food for real family members. That's what my mother-in-law said as she placed an empty dog bowl in front of me during my father-in-law's birthday dinner. I stood there, frozen in place, completely stunned. She looked straight at me, a big satisfied smile on her face, like she was proud of what she'd just done. Next to her, my father-in-law sat quietly. As usual, he looked completely uninterested in everything around him. Right beside me was my husband, Win. He didn't look surprised or upset. In fact, his face showed only irritation, like he was annoyed at me for being upset. It was a table for 4, but I felt like I was the only one really sitting there, surrounded by people I once thought were my family. I suddenly realized, I had never been a part of their family at all. "Don't pretend you're family just because you gave us a bit of money," my mother-in-law said coldly, her eyes sharp with anger. I didn't know how to respond. I didn't help them because I wanted to feel superior. I only helped when they asked. I truly believed I was doing the right thing, supporting Win's family whenever I could. But now I sat there, being treated like dirt. My husband, who once promised he'd protect me if anything happened, just stared at his plate. He said nothing. Not even when his mother insulted me directly. "Even a dog is more likable than you." Her words cut deep. This was supposed to be a birthday celebration, a cheerful evening, but for me, it had turned into the longest, most painful dinner of my life. I had reached my breaking point. I couldn't do this anymore. I stood up, took a deep breath, and said firmly, "I understand. Since I'm not family anymore, I'll stop everything." That was it. My name is Demi, and I'm 30 years old. When I was 21, my life changed forever. My parents died in a car crash, leaving me and my younger sister all alone. She was only 18 at the time. Even though I was heartbroken and scared, I had no choice. I had to grow up fast. I had to finish college and take care of my sister. Thanks to the insurance money and a small inheritance, I was able to stay in school and eventually graduate. I got a job right after college and spent the next several years working as hard as I could. I focused all my energy on helping my sister, especially making sure she had enough to go to college too. She graduated, found a good job, and last year she got engaged to her college boyfriend. I was so proud of her. During one of our talks, she said something that really stuck with me. "Demi, it's time you start thinking about your own happiness too." She was right. I had spent so many years focused on survival and responsibility. I had forgotten what it meant to dream of love or building a home of my own. I was 30, I had barely dated, never been in a serious relationship, but I wanted to build a warm and happy life, like the one I once had with my parents. So, I started attending matchmaking events. I didn't have high hopes, but I wanted to give it a try. The first 2 events didn't lead anywhere, but at the third one, I met someone who made me feel instantly at ease. His name was Win. He worked at a mid-sized company. He had a calm voice, a gentle manner, and kind eyes. From the first conversation, it felt natural. We exchanged numbers, kept talking, and slowly our bond grew stronger. Everything just felt easy between us. 6 months later, he proposed. I said yes. We got married not long after, and I truly believed I was starting a new chapter filled with love, peace, and happiness. But one thing cast a dark shadow on that hope: his mother. From the first time I met her, I felt uncomfortable. She didn't even try to hide her disapproval of me. When she found out I worked at a small company and didn't hold any fancy job title, she raised her eyebrows and said, "With a company that small, your salary must be very low. That must be hard, and with no parents to support you, well, I guess you're lucky my son married you." Her fake concern was worse than open rudeness. She said it with a sweet smile, but her words were like knives. I wanted to cry, but before I could respond, Win stepped in and said, "Mom, that's not a nice way to talk." Then he turned to me and asked, "Are you okay?" "I'm really sorry." That moment meant everything to me. It made me feel seen, protected, and supported. On our way home, he promised, "I'm sorry you had to go through that. Next time Mom says anything rude, I'll stop her right away." At the time, I felt lucky. I thought I had a partner who would always stand by me. But I had no idea how wrong I was. My mother-in-law didn't back off. In fact, she got worse, much worse. Even though I felt nothing but frustration about the way Win's mother talked to me on the phone, I looked at my husband's face. He looked genuinely sorry, his eyes full of guilt, his voice soft and pleading. "Please, just this once," he said. I sighed and gave in. "All right, just this once, thank you," he said with a smile. His face brightened instantly. I couldn't help but smile a little, too, though I wasn't really happy. I was just trying to be understanding. But I had no idea that, just this once, would turn into something much bigger. That first time I gave his mother some money, I thought it was a one-time thing, a kind gesture to help out, but once she knew she could ask me, she started calling more and more. At first it was once a week, then twice. Soon it felt like she was calling all the time, always asking for more. It wasn't even small amounts. One week she asked for $900. The next month, it shot up to $1,200. If one week I gave less, she'd demand more the next to make up for it, as if she had a personal goal to hit. When the amount crossed $1,000, I finally turned to Win again. "Hey, your mother keeps asking for money. She says it's for hospital bills. Does she have some kind of chronic illness or something?" He was busy chewing his food and barely looked up. "I wonder," he mumbled. "Can you at least ask her about it? I mean, over $1,000 in a single month, that doesn't seem normal." He nodded vaguely. "I'll ask her sometime." But he never did. Every time I brought it up, he'd wave it off. Let it go, just this once. That phrase became his shield, an excuse to avoid talking about it, and every time I tried to press further, he either laughed it off or walked away. One day, when I complained again, he chuckled and said, "See, at least it's less than what she asked for last month." As if that was something to be proud of. Trying to talk to him seriously about the money became impossible. He didn't want to hear it, and worse, he started showing signs of irritation, frowning, changing the topic, or simply walking away. 10 months passed like this. 10 whole months of me handing over money to his mother while feeling more and more invisible in my own marriage. Then, one day, something strange happened. She called, but not to ask for money. Her voice sounded cheerful. "Demi, I'm planning a birthday dinner for your father-in-law. You have to come too." I was caught off guard. She had never invited me like that before. To be honest, I didn't want to go, but since she was trying to be nice for once, I thought maybe I should accept. The day of the dinner arrived. Win and I showed up at his parents' house. His mother greeted us at the door with an unusually wide smile. "I cooked a lot today. The whole family is together, so I made it special," she said with a proud grin. She led us into the dining room. And at first glance, it was impressive. The table looked like something out of a fancy restaurant. Beautiful plates, candles, steaming dishes, everything looked perfect, almost. Almost. Because as my eyes scanned the table, I noticed something strange. 3 of the place settings had nice plates, wine glasses, and silverware. The 4th setting was completely different. It had no food, no glass. Just a dog bowl. At first, I thought it was a mistake, maybe the bowl was for the actual dog. But then my mother-in-law turned toward me, pointed at the bowl, and said with a twisted smile, "Demi, that's your seat." I just stood there, frozen, a chill ran down my back. Was she serious? She leaned in closer and whispered, trying not to laugh, "Quick, sit down before your husband comes." I turned to Win, hoping, praying he'd say something, that he'd defend me. But he didn't. He just looked away and quietly took his own seat, pretending not to see anything. I couldn't believe it. I sat down because there was nothing else I could do, but inside, I was crumbling. My mother-in-law sat down with a pleased expression and started speaking as if nothing had happened. "I only made food for real family, that's normal, right?" I stared at her, speechless. "Honestly," she went on, "it's annoying when someone like you pretends to be family just because you gave us a little financial help. Who do you think you are, always asking how I spend it? A little financial help?" I had given her over $10,000 by then. If that was a little, then clearly we lived in different worlds. She smiled again, more cruelly this time. "Someone as plain and charmless as you should be grateful to even be treated like a dog." At that moment, her husband walked in and sat down like nothing was wrong. No reaction, no comment, just silence, as if I didn't even exist. Then, my mother-in-law clapped her hands and said cheerfully, "Well, now that our guest of honor is here, let's begin the party." That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, pushed my chair back, and said clearly, "I'm leaving." She raised her eyebrows. "Leaving, before we even start?" Only she responded. The men remained silent. Win kept his head down, not even glancing my way. I looked straight at him and said, "So this is it? You're just going to sit there and ignore everything? You don't care that your mother's been demanding money from me for months, and now she's publicly humiliating me?" He didn't reply. "You just let her say and do whatever she wants. I guess that makes you the perfect little dog in her eyes, doesn't it?" Finally, Win looked up, but he still said nothing. My mother-in-law jumped in again, now screaming. But I didn't care anymore. I walked out of that house with her insults ringing behind me, but I felt a strange sense of peace. I had finally said what needed to be said. And I knew, deep down, that I was done.